Hello there, everybody. This is Luke here. Top Bins with Twins. Paul sitting next to me. Paul, how are you doing?
I am on a high right now from my last game week.
And I'm on low. The two extremes
We're two dualities.
here. So, Paul, tell everyone, how was your game week? Exactly how many points you got? Let us know.
So I don't have to look at my phone. I don't even have to pull it out.
That's impressive.
I finished on 81 points this past game week. It was a really good week for me. I had Haaland as my captain, which played out decently well. Semenyo, kudos. Two Arsenal defenders, Gabriel and Calafiori. And then had some other disappointing results, honestly, for an 81-point game week, where I had Mateta in my team. Mm-hmm. He could have had 2 goals. I had Munoz, who scored, who I will die in the hill. That if Mateta is more clinical, they take those 2 chances. They're up 3-0. They probably walk out of there 3-0 beating Everton.
Crystal Palace. I think I saw today 14 big chances missed. I'll check real fast.
I would say Mateta's at the forefront of that. He's been pretty wasteful so far this season.
He's missed a lot of chances. Keep going, though. I'll look it up.
Yeah, so Mateta, and then just not even another point to highlight of that whole thing is that like one of those Mateta chances would have been an assist from Munoz. So, I mean, that's an instant, maybe like 10, 12 points in my team.
And Munoz is locked on the 3 bonus at that point.
Yeah, so it's but, I mean, it's a really good game week. I am now currently, I think, 5 points behind Luke?
Mm-hmm.
So he's, here in the footsteps. Sorry, West wasn't trying to scare Luke's dog below us, but...
I was not hearing the footsteps, but now they've snuck up on me.
Now I'm pounding on the door.
Yeah, so need to figure that one out. But sounds like you had a great game week, Paul. And in a game week like that, it's so easy to just be happy with how your team did, but in all reality, your team could have done a lot better too. So I think it's good to be realistic about this was a great week, but it could have even been even better than it was.
Yeah, and I mean, 2 other things to highlight just to throw it out there. Calafiori goes off the post. He's in my team. That probably puts him automatically on 3 bonuses with a clean sheet and a goal. Mm-hmm. And then the Gyökeres pin that Saka took, that's up for debate here on this podcast about where we think that is going forward. But there's also another one too. Reinders having a really good shot attempt saved by Kelleher. So
yeah,
honestly, like I said, a really good week for me, but it easily could have been probably my best game week ever in FPL. So
yeah, you were on the precipice there. But the good thing is you made up ground. Right. What is your overall rank now? Do you remember?
I think it's 1.1 million.
Yeah, that's right. We talked about it. I'm right at 1 million. Mm-hmm. Went from 300K down to 1 million in one. It's
crazy.
It does show just how tightly compacted everyone is right now. There's not a lot of wiggle room, right? Like you have a bad week, you're going to drop.
Yeah, for sure.
Like a stone in water. And that's exactly what I did. So
does it sink or swim?
Sinks. If you get the reference, that's good. Keep listening. Okay,
let's hear about it, Luke.
My team.
This is just so everybody knows. This is now a therapy session. So
yeah. Before I go on to that, though, Jean-Philippe Mateta, how many big chances do you think he's missed
this season?
He is.
I know there was probably 2 in this last match. I would say, let's just say 7.
Yeah, spot on.
Really?
7. Yeah.
Okay.
And then Haaland has missed 6. And the new member of my team, Dominic Calvert-Lewin, has 5 big missed chances.
We knew that was going to happen, though.
So, and I think he had 2 of them in the game this week. But yeah, so my team, I ended up on. Sorry, as we all know, the app is very slow and
a little glitchy.
Labors to do the smallest things, but nevertheless, I am currently on 53 points. Hopefully,
it was 51.
53. Hopefully I have a couple more players to play. I don't.
And just so we know, Luke's saying that Monday afternoon after the game week's been over for 24 hours.
I don't have any more players to play.
Nobody does.
'Tis a real shame I don't, because 53 points, I ended up being better than I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be a cataclysmically bad week because I decided to take Kudus out of the team. I took Chris Wood out as well, so I took a -4 to go Kudus to Anthony Gordon, Chris Wood to Dominic Calvert-Lewin. DCL was because I really like Leeds fixtures. That was the only reason.
Bold. Me and him talked about this a lot.
And I really liked Anthony Gordon. He looked great in the Champions League, took 2 penalties, and then Newcastle get a penalty when he's not on the pitch this
Which
week, which
up
really
for
hurt.
discourse, but do you think Anthony Gordon's still on pins after that last pin
Yeah,
by
for sure. Yeah,
you?
because
Also,
he took that
well,
pin.
we will say Luke did promise that Jokeres was on pins earlier in the season, so
I did. I think, and I still think Gyökeres is on pins. Frankly, I think Saka took this. It was his 200th Premier League appearance and his 100th Premier League goal. That I think it was special in that way. I think that's why he took it. I think Gyökeres is going to be on pins. He's their goal scorer, man. You have to have your 9 on pins if he's supposed to be one of the most important players in your team. So, nevertheless, I'll continue on.
I don't know.
So in my team, I had Calvert-Lewin, Gyökeres, Foden, Bruno, Gordon, Gunmanson, and Devraka. All of them blinked. And then I had
Nice.
Trufe got DEFCON. So that was he got an assist. He got an assist to Semenyo.
Oh, I forgot I had Semenyo on my team. Shout out Semenyo,
Yeah, Semenyo. He's not in my team.
the future Arsenal left winger.
That would be really nice. That would be great. So then I also had Gabriel for his 9-pointer, which was really good, but I don't think I'm getting much out of that at this point. Seems like it's back to FPL 2 seasons ago where you have to have 2 Arsenal defenders, which Paul beat everyone there, I think. And then I had Njai, who got the penalty and should have had an assist. Did you see that assist he created? Jack Grealish's goal. Njai played himself down the right side and crossed it back over. And Beto has a header from 2 yards out, 3 yards out, and manages to miss it. And then that's when the ball bounces around and Grealish gets his goal. So
I just quit watching the Crystal Palace match after they gave up the first goal. I was like, "Fuck this shit, I'm out."
yeah,
I just turned the TV off.
Once you lose your double clean sheet, I understand.
I was only one, but still the Munoz 3 bonus basically out the window. But go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And then I managed to have a decent weekend because of Haaland. Right? I don't know. By captaining him, we're still not getting that much out of it at this point with his effective ownership, but I'm just glad I didn't captain Gordon, who I thought about for a while. So
You would have crashed.
That would have been bad.
It would have been really bad.
But here's the thing: if Gordon was on the pitch and would have taken that pin, he probably would have been on all 3 bonus, and that would have been the right captaining pick. So, oh well. But nevertheless, we continue on, and now we have an international break. So
I'm so tired of this. I really am.
And there is another one after this one too.
Is there really? Is there one? I guess there's November.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
It's exhausting. It really is. I feel like every time we get in the swing of like Premier League, it's like 2 weeks later, boom, gone. International break, somebody gets hurt, blah blah blah, and I don't know. I feel like it just disrupts the season so much. Which I know that you highlighted this earlier in our group chat with Kyle that I think next season there's going to be a 3-week period where they're out.
So what's going to happen next year? UEFA moved around their schedule. It's been approved. What's going to happen is we're going to have the first international window like we're used to, right? That comes in first week of September. That first week of September, it's instead of a 2-week international break, it's really going to be 3 weeks. And teams are going to be allowed to play 4 fixtures instead of 2. So more kind of. I mean, really, over those 3 weeks, they're playing 4 fixtures, so it's not horrible, right? But what that means is we don't have an October international break next year. So
I see.
We'll get a break from the international breaks in October, which will be good.
Yeah, what's interesting about that too is that like that first window in September is going to be basically useless.
Yeah,
because I mean that's the first window back after a World Cup, and that's literally probably the deadest time to be watching international games.
Yeah, it will be. So there's going to be a lot of people wondering what's the point of all this. So
give them a break.
Yeah, no, that's not going to happen ever.
That's insane.
You got to keep the money machine turning, and we all know how that goes. Football is a sport that attracts fans because of the passion, the connection to community, the connection to belonging. But it's been turned into an investment for a lot of people that have a lot of money, and they don't care about the players, the community. The majority, I say that there are some out there who actually do care. I do believe that. But the majority are there from an ROI perspective. How much money am I going to return over the next 5 years, 10 years, or a year or two, and then you flip the club? And that's horrible. We've seen this with so many clubs around the world, that mismanagement leads to communities losing on the clubs that they've cared about for decades, if not hundreds of years. So,
And then the ripple effects of, say, a club like Sunderland, who's been down for what, the last like maybe 10, 15 years, and then they come back up to the Premier League. They're having a great season. I'm sure the economic benefits of being in the Premier League aren't just beneficial for Sunderland, the football club, but also the surrounding community and everything involved. So, yeah, we really do hate to see that. And we do say that as Americans, too, who there's been a lot of American owners that are trying to get into world football and changing these clubs. And we don't support that. If you have the right
I
if you have the right intentions, I will say I do, but I don't know. The Americanization of a lot of this stuff, I think, in a certain regard, needs to stop.
the thing about it, where I sit, is that the investment of capital. Let's look at Wrexham. That's a club everyone knows at this point. You've heard of them. The miraculous rise all the way up to the championship from I think they were in non-league football recently. That is incredible, right? And just the tourism alone that comes in because of that documentary they put together and having American owners, that has benefited that community exponentially. So, right?
For sure.
And it's driving jobs. It's driving more investment into that community as well
But it
as
was
they're
also
building it up.
done with the right purpose behind it too, you know?
Right, but that's the thing. I
Like,
think it can be done right. Right.
yeah,
That's what
I
I'm
agree with you.
saying.
I agree with you.
Is it's usually the minority where someone goes in and says, I want to have a positive impact, and actually achieves that impact, but it can be done.
Yeah,
Right. So,
I agree with you. I agree.
yeah, just a little tidbit there. I think we can get into FPL chat as long as till our faces turn blue. But it also is interesting to talk about some of the more intricate layers of football and how it impacts people, right? Because at the end of the day, that's what really matters, is what are people taking from their experiences on the football pitch, watching football at their local community field, right? Where they're just interacting with other people. Like it's so much more than just a sport, with the way that people interact with the sport. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know. But we can get back to FPL now if you want, Paul. So
Yeah. I think a good little segue to that, though, Luke, is let's just do a little like temperature check. I know we're going into an international break. Like we said, we're recording this Monday right after the game weekends. Both of our teams, I'd say, are in a good point right now. Like I think both of us have had good starts to the season. I've had some really good game weeks like this past one. You've had really good game weeks. The Haaland triple captain played out really well for both of us. But just kind of overall, where do you think your team's at right now? Do you think you could disagree with me? Do you think there's big changes need to be made?
no, I don't. I have a pretty clear chip strategy on how I want to move forward,
I don't.
and that is factoring in AFCON, which we'll talk about later. And that is also factoring in how I'm trying to make my transfers now. So what that means is this week I took a -4. And that -4 was taken because I felt like, for one, I knew I wanted to get off of Chris Wood. That was a spot that I
The
knew just had to
woodchuck's
be
not
going.
chucking.
He's not. He's not. And here's my thing about Kudus. He had a great return this week. He's looked really good. I don't think those returns are going to keep coming as freely as they have been, because the fixtures turn not a lot, but they get more difficult over the next coming game weeks. And Paul, you can read that off when you get to it. But I see, for example, I brought in DCL. I really like his upcoming fixtures for the next 5 weeks. And he's someone I can happily just throw on my bench. Right.
5.5, right?
Yeah, at 5.5. And they have Burnley away next week. If I get a goal or two out of him in that, then the -4 is paid back immediately, right? Over a longer term perspective. So
yeah, and what you're paying for the value you get out of that if he returns, it's a really good investment. Could be.
He's a mega differential, probably for lots of reasons. But
because nobody else is crazy enough to have them in their team.
true, true. And I look at my team right now. I think I probably have gone a little extreme into the differential territory, which I love
You
doing.
typically do.
Where I think I really messed up is bringing in Foden 2 weeks ago. That's where I
Who did I
probably
say? Who I told you, Luke, a million times.
no. I hear you. I hear you. He's looked really good, and the failure in my mind is him just not converting the chances he had. He's had chances, right? He had 5 shots on target in the first half against Brentford.
But what? How high of those XG chances were they?
I think he ended up with an XG of like 0.3, 0.4. So
Yeah, I mean, you
decent
put 5 shots together. I mean, it's not bad.
for him.
I'm
If
just saying though,
and
like,
he's been in form, right? He's one of those players who usually overperforms his XG whenever he's in form, right? So
mm-hmm.
it is what it is, and his record has been really good at Brentford. But my point being, what I probably should have done is just gone with Semenyo for Foden.
easily, easily.
But when you look at Semenyo, he's the highest XG over performer in the entire league right
But
now.
you're also disqualifying the fact too that like how much your overall rank would have been helped over the past 7 weeks if you
Oh,
would
I
have had
agree.
Semenyo. Like,
Yeah, even
because I
just
mean,
last week.
we talk of this all the time, but like at a certain point, it's really good to play FPL from somewhat of a defensive perspective to protect yourself.
Right.
Because I mean, like, imagine if you didn't have Semenyo, Holland, um, maybe Senesi, like these players that are massively owned, and everybody else is just banking those points week in and week out. It's really hard to fight against that, especially. I mean, you can find differentials to work out for you, but week in and week out, it's really tough.
I don't know if I have some kind of cognitive bias or something in the back of my mind, but Semenyo as an FPL pick was not someone who was on my radar at all to build when I was building my teams. I just didn't. I saw him as a very talented player, but in the past 2 seasons when we've watched him, he's been someone who has not really been very clinical, right? A
He's always
lot of
been high
chances,
volume.
a lot of shots, converted them at a very low clip. In my mind, I just expected that to continue, but I've been wrong about that. My thing being, though, I don't know if I'm going to bring him in.
Well, let's see, Luke. So the fixtures, they go Crystal Palace away. This is after the international break. Nottingham Forest at home. That's a good fixture. City away. Villa away. West Ham at home. Sunderland away. Everton at home. I would say, I mean, those 4 first fixtures, Crystal Palace, Forest, not City, and Villa. As a Semenyo owner, I'm not worried about that because I know that he can hit DEFCON against City, right? Probably will. I would assume in that match he'll hit DEFCON. Villa away, probably will too. And we know that Bournemouth are going to put teams in difficult situations. And all these teams have shown that they're going to give up goals in certain situations, especially Forced at
Right,
home.
right.
Like that's a sneaky captaincy shot right there, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think my question to you though is, let's say after the international break, Kluivert comes back, he's starting, playing more of that kind of cam 10 role. Do you think that Semenyo's on pins?
Yeah.
Do
I
you?
don't think you change up your pen taker mid-season with somebody that's in the form he's in right now.
Okay.
I don't think you change it, and he's shown that he's pretty clinical when it comes to stepping up to the penalty spot. So I think until he starts missing, I think he'll stay.
Okay.
But also, we were wrong about Jokeres too.
Yeah, that one hurt.
It's hard. It's difficult because I mean that really means a lot. I mean, you look at like everybody that owns Jokeres. I mean, if we get those points instead of Saka owners, like
Yeah.
that's a huge shift in FPL. You know.
Yeah. No, I agree. It is a huge difference. And I worry about Jokeres. I think he's going to start dropping in price sometime soon. And I
Yeah, I agree.
don't like
I
taking those
agree.
price drops, but for him, I'm going to hold on to him. I'll ride the wave down if he keeps dropping because I think he's going to start converting and getting good chances, right? He's not really getting that many chances right now, right? He gets played into a channel, but it kind of takes him into a dead end, right? It's not like he's getting high XG opportunities, kind of like Haaland is right now. He's just not getting that service. So
Yeah. Part of my thing right now is that like I think I'm going to take the international break to kind of decide exactly where I want to go. But like I'm not laying all my cards out here. But I would say that I think there is an Arsenal midfielder who is not Saka or Rice. He wears the number 10 kit. that I think
Huh.
is probably the best Arsenal asset.
That's a pretty easy pick.
I don't know. I really didn't say who it was, but I don't know. I feel like I'll say it fine.
Fine.
That
They
he's
figured it
been
out.
he got an assist last weekend for the shot on goal that was blocked. He should have scored in the Newcastle match. I mean, Nick Pope was great. There was probably two chances that I think once the first one falls, he's going to get a couple goals, couple assists, and a flurry. So
Mhm.
with Arsenal's fixtures going forward, I think he could be a really good option.
Yeah, I do like that.
Or Rice too.
It,
Save budget.
I think the distinction here in my mind is if Saka's on pins, he's worth the price that he's at. And I would say is better value than Eze or Rice, even with him being cheaper. Because with pins, if Saka does take every pin, that's another 4 to 5 goals at least in your team. And we know Saka's going to be creating chances. He's going to be finishing chances because he's just probably the best right winger in world football. I
When
don't
he's
know.
on it,
I
yeah.
don't know who you would put up there. Who would be better? You could throw other people up there. I mean,
Yamal.
Yamal's up there. Yeah, he's definitely up
I
there.
honestly, I, I'm not saying it, but like Yamal, it to me is more explosive than Saka is,
Yeah, yeah, I
and
agree.
like dribbling, like
I think
he
he's a
is
little more. He's more. What's the best way to say it? Like,
he has more flair.
a little more tiki in the
Yeah.
way he does it. Right.
Mm-hmm.
He's got a little more street flair to his game. Is how I
Yeah.
would say it. Yeah.
I don't know, but I mean, I agree with you though that Saka's like at the forefront of the right winger conversation when healthy. The big thing, of course, with Saka is can he play all the matches of the season, and
Right. Right.
we'll see. Hopefully, he
So
has a good run.
speaking of pins, we mentioned this a little bit earlier, but how do you feel about Voltamade? Would you be bringing him into your team?
He would be heavily considering what he's scored 3 goals in their last four. He's
Mm-hmm.
easily settled in this Newcastle team. So he scored a pen. He had the header against Arsenal. I think it was another header, right? His first goal, or is
Yeah,
kind of
I had him on my free hit for that one.
yeah.
It was that
So I
one,
mean,
and he scored in Champions League last week too.
he feels to me like somebody that obviously it's just like what 5 games that he's played in. This feels like somebody that could be. I'm not saying and when I throw out this name, I'm just throwing it out loosely. I'm not really comparing him to this person. But when we had Harry Kane in FPL, and it felt like week in and week out, you could just bank a goal. You know, like he's there's going to be games here and there where he misses not getting a return, but it's what we talk about, that passive income from your FPL team where it's like that's a consistent 6 pointer in my team, 7 pointer. Just depends on how the match plays out. But then you have the occasional week where you get 2 goals.
Yeah, yeah,
You're set. I mean, really, that's what. And for his price point, what is he like 7.7,
7.1.
7.1? That's great
Mm-hmm.
value. I mean,
See, the problem is I could have just gone Wood to Voltamade without taking the hit, and it would have kept Kudus in my
because
team.
like we said, he could be on pins now too. I mean, that was an excellent pin that he took
I don't think so personally, because whenever
in
Gordon took
Champions
the
League.
2 pins in Champions League, Voltamade was on the pitch, and it didn't seem like there's any question who was taking the pin. So perhaps that changes. I could be wrong, but yeah, I think Newcastle assets are going to be a very hot commodity over this break as well, because they have the best defense in the league
Dan Burn,
statistically.
second best.
I think best. I'll check. I'll check on that. I'll get back to you on that. But their attacking assets, it looks like they're starting to figure out how a how they're going to rotate players, right? Who's going to be starting every week, and B, allowing those players to have the chemistry that they really think they should, and how that manifests is goals. Newcastle are scoring more goals, right? That's what matters at the end of the day. So, yeah, but there's another team that I think we could potentially hone in on here that I think is a good investment opportunity right now. And my phone died, but I think Chelsea is a great option. I like their fixtures a lot for the upcoming
Okay.
run.
Do you mean to read them off?
Yeah, let's go ahead and read those off. The player that I'd really be looking at, and I know that there's been some pushback because of his price point, is Cucurella. I think I want to go back and watch some highlights and see where we could just look at his positional heat map, right? wherever he's playing on the pitch is going to determine if I bring him in or not. But that run is really nice.
Yeah, so you could say basically,
Yeah,
which we're going to talk about this a little bit later, but leading up to AFCON, Chelsea have, you would say, probably the best run of fixtures. So essentially,
exactly.
it goes Forced away, Sunderland at home, Tottenham away, Wolves at home, Burnley away, Arsenal at home, Leeds away, Bournemouth away, Everton at home in game week 16.
Yeah, and see, it's crazy.
I mean,
It's a
that's,
really good run.
and well, the question is, so you said Kukurea, but like if we're looking at, do you think the best way to invest is going to be in a forward and a midfielder, and a defender, and who would you go for?
I personally wouldn't. I don't think I'll go to João Pedro. What I would like to see is Cole Palmer come back and start to find some form, and then go there once I like what I'm seeing. Right, looking to see, is he sharp? Does he look like he's fully fit? And then once that goes, I think I'd happily bring him in if I feel like he's going to stay fit, right?
Mm.
And that's reading the context clues around press conferences, all those
It's
things,
scary.
right?
I don't know with Cole Palmer
The
right now.
safest one I think is Cucurella, in my opinion. I think that's the best pick. Caicedo is currently second overall for midfielders, if not topping midfielders in points for in FPL. I don't think that run continues the way it has. I think he's going to continue chipping away at DEFCON, get a clean sheet point here and there. But the goals, he's a top player. I don't know if he continues to score the goals the way he is currently. That's where my hesitation is with
Well,
him.
it's so weird, Luke, too, because like that bracket of midfielders.
That's crazy. It's
I
him,
mean, it's
Rice.
Anthony from
Yeah,
Burnley, and then Enzo too. Those are your
yeah,
top five, with Semenyo being number one at 66 points. He's easily the best midfield pick this season so far. I think Caicedo is a viable option. I mean, it's kind of like what we were just talking about, this passive income. I think he's. I mean, has there been a week he hasn't hit DefCon?
yeah. There've been a couple. Yeah, unless he got yellow carded, and I was just looking at the totals incorrectly. But he has missed DefCon a couple
I
weeks.
think there's probably 1 week
Okay.
or two that he didn't hit
Yeah, I
DefCon.
think there was probably
But I
two.
mean, if he keeps scoring goals, if he keeps showing up these positions, which I mean he's going to, just based on where he's playing in Maresca's system. So I mean, there's not really too many midfield options right now, really.
No, no, there's not, and that's kind of the sad thing about FPL right now is we came in with Salah being crazy expensive. He's not an option at all. Verts was really disappointing for a lot of people, which is unfortunate to see. And then Cole Palmer, non-existent. Saka's just now finding something. There's a lot of players who are really great Premier League players. Bruno Fernandes missing 2 penalties. Don't even get me started on him.
Yeah, that's tough. I mean, Bruno, we've talked about this. I think Bruno still is a really viable option going forward. We didn't see if he's on pens. We need to figure that out. If he's not on pens, I think that does change things. They have two other great penalty takers in their team, so it's easily Emram could be moving away from him. But if he stays on pins, I think he is just another one of those set and forget in your team, because the returns will come for him. I mean, he plays with too good of attackers to not eventually,
For me, Bruno Fernandez would only be sacrificed for the likes of Cole Palmer, Saka, and that's about it, right?
Semenyo.
No, because I can get there from other people. It's the price point I'm
Yeah,
looking at
yeah,
there,
I know what you're
right?
saying. I was just
So I'm
giving you
looking at
shit.
price points there, but yeah, no, it definitely feels like I missed a lot of points with Semenyo, so that has damaged my team. But good thing is I had Haaland the entire early from the beginning of the season up to now, so that saved me a lot. The triple captain definitely paid off too. So yeah, pretty happy with how my team's shaping up. But I just hope Dominique Calvert-Lewin gives me something sometime soon in the near future.
We'll see about that.
Yeah, we
We'll
will.
see about that,
We
Lucas.
will.
So we also, going forward with the pod, we wanted to talk a little bit. We wanted to look a little farther forward than we typically would in FPL. Like we just mentioned, going into game week 8 after this international break, and on the horizon now is AFCON going into past game week 16.
Mm-hmm.
wanted to bring that up, have a little conversation about it. It's always good, Art, to be planning even 8 game weeks ahead, because a little transfer you make here going into game week 8 does have repercussions for your team farther down the line.
That's why I took Kudus out of my team.
Yeah. He's
Because
preparing for AFCON.
yes. No. No, but that's a great segue, Paul, because what we're trying to do here is help FPL managers out there start to think about festive fixtures around the corner, AFCONs around the corner as well. How do we want to strategically manage that period in the season? Because as we know, those fixtures are coming really thick and fast, right? It's very densely packed and probably, in my opinion, the most fun time of the FPL season because the Premier League has now ruined it, though, because there's no Boxing Day fixtures,
Yeah,
which
that
is
makes no sense.
an absolute farce and travesty, ridiculous. But I digress. With getting ready for this fixture congestion for Premier League fixtures, which is a good change, we need to keep in mind on how are we using our chips and planning with the mindset that not only do we have a lot of fixtures coming up, we also have a lot of free transfers that could potentially be coming into our teams, right? The distinction there being that, in case you don't know, whenever AFCON officially starts, this will be game week 15, I believe, right, Paul? So at game week 15, you will be topped up to 5 fixtures.
I'll fact check that.
What that means is you want to be going into game week 15 with 1 free transfer, right? Because at that point, they'll add on 4 more to what you currently have. So you have to be very strategic about how you want to handle this. You don't want to be going into that week with 5 transfers, with 4 transfers, because you're not gaining those 3 and 4 other transfers potentially that everyone else is getting. So with that mindset, what I think we need to kind of look at there is around, we'll start game week from the very beginning. A lot of people targeted game week 7 because Arsenal's fixtures switched, City's
got
switched,
easier.
and Liverpool's got pretty difficult, right, with some of the fixtures they have coming up, and their form has just dropped off the face of the earth. So also within that, around game week 13, fixtures kind of switch again for some of the big boys. We've got Man City, where the fixtures start to change around and get really nice. Liverpool's start to change around and get really nice.
Chelsea's are just good.
Chelsea's are just great. And then Newcastle's. Those are the real teams that I think we can look at and say there's real viability here of bringing them in. So with that in mind, we know that fixtures don't always necessitate returns in a team. Things happen, right? Sometimes teams lose form. There's nothing you can do about it. But if you can ride a wave, you want to try to ride a wave. And I think planning your chips around that, especially since we're past 7 now, knowing that 13 it does switch up, my advice to everyone out there is start to formulate a plan on how you want to manage that going into AFCON, right? Because once we hit game week 10, 11, you should probably have an idea of what you're already doing for game week 13, for game week 15, and for all the festive fixtures too, right? So, just something to keep in mind there, I think, for the listeners out there.
No, I agree, Luke, and I think planning out your chip usage for how exactly you want to manage, however many you have left for up to game week. What is it? It goes to game week. When 19. Is it? 19. So in the game week 19, figuring out exactly. I mean, like, I feel like it would be very wasteful, to not really sit down and logistically plan out how you want to use them. Because if, say, you get to game week 18 and you use all your AFCON transfers and then it doesn't work out and you're like, I'm going to free hit just to make up for it. That's not really maximizing,
Right. No, I agree.
And I mean, that could be a week. I mean, it to me, using a free hit to just like put a Band-Aid on stuff really isn't what you want to do,
Yeah. Nope. Completely
Like,
agreed.
you want to make sure that you're really maximizing those chips because, I mean, look at the triple captain. I mean, that changed my season so far because it put me on a path, and then I had a really good week this week, and now I'm 5 points behind Luke whenever he was doing
I think I was 40 ahead.
You were probably 40 ahead of me, which,
Yeah.
there's a lot of give and take to like where you are week to week in FPL. But no, I agree with you that sitting down and really figuring out exactly what you want to do is probably the most important thing. And like we said, I mean, I realize it's like probably what 8 game weeks away right now, but that's going to be here before we know it.
It will. It really will. We do know there's another international break, right? There's going to be a November window as well, which is the worst. But with that in mind, I just think strategically handling this period coming up is going to be really important. My advice to myself is
Okay,
to try to
introspective here.
what I'm trying to do is not let myself make transfers every week. Right. I want to be to the point of where I, I'm picking players for the long term, right? Like that is one of the key considerations in my mind as I'm picking players. If I'm bringing them in, then I should be happy to keep them for 6, 7, 8, however many weeks. So it's trusting the team you're picking, even if they have maybe a bad week or two, because it'll be really easy for me at this point to say, "Oh well, my last week really sucked. I'm going to wild card now." But at the same time, I'm wild carding out players I pick for the long term that I think will have that do have great fixtures. It's just a matter of them getting the returns, and I think that'll come in time.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Yeah, it's just I don't know. To me, I'm naturally not a planner, and this is something that I struggle with. That obviously I've had to work on just being an adult, like as an FPL manager, sitting like just looking at it and being like, hey, this guy needs to go, but like maybe it makes more sense to take him out 3 weeks from now or 2 weeks from now, or if you can manage it for as long as you possibly can. AFCON's gonna be kind of, I think, I don't know where I sit on the fence about if it's more fun having the extra transfers or if it's like figure it out as an FPL manager. You don't get those transfers.
I think I'm looking at it cup half full personally, because at this point we can't change it. We know they're not going
Oh
to
yeah,
change how
they're
they're
not
doing
listening.
it.
FPL towers aren't listening to us.
No, they're not. They're not. But maybe they are. But they're
They're
not.
always listening.
The thing being though that let's look at it as a fun injection of capital into the FPL market, right?
Yeah.
It gives a lot of people. Sorry,
A stimulus check, some would say.
Oh God, don't bring that up. For non-American listeners, it's being discussed to have another stimulus check by our one true president, Donald Trump. That was sarcasm, but I digress. What we're trying to say here, though, is that maybe having all those free transfers in FPL managers' pockets, that could be good, right? Because it'll liven the game up. Kind of, let's say you have a friend who hasn't checked their team in 3 weeks, right? Log back in. Oh, look, I have 5 free transfers out of nowhere. So it'll be good, I think, and I like the timing of it. I think it fits. Some people are maybe losing interest around that point, so I think there could be good things come out of it in the long run. So I'm optimistic on it.
Yeah, I feel you there, Luke. But yeah, with AFCON, I mean, a good thing probably for us to highlight too is probably the more notable players that are going to be gone. Obviously, we've mentioned Salah. He's probably the most prominent FPL player. Even if he's having a down season, he will be gone.
Along with
There's
Semenyo will be gone.
Semenyo,
Wissa if he's back healthy.
Wissa.
He's also looking at trying to think Chelsea, Liverpool. That's what we need to look at is with players leaving, who are going to be the ones stepping up and filling in places that there's a need. When we look at the right wing, Liverpool don't have many options. And the player that they brought in this summer has been known to play at the right wing. So I think Frimpong could be a really interesting choice going into the AFCON window, because if he's back healthy, if he's playing, and he's going to be playing right wing at 6 million, that might be the best value pick in the entire game right there. If he starts returning, and I think that would be good for Verts as well, to have a familiar player out there with him that he has a established relationship with. we can maybe see Verts start to turn the corner. Hopefully, he turns the corner before then.
I don't know.
We'll see. But yeah, Frimpong's one of those players that I think we could really look at. Kluivert's maybe another one that could really benefit with Semenyo being gone. I could see that
There's
being good
also
for him.
Mbomo who's going to be gone too from
Yeah.
United. So
Mm-hmm.
maybe you see Ahmad out there more, or possibly maybe Mason Mount. He scored
He
in this
did.
past game week. Wouldn't it be funny if Mason Mount became a viable FPL asset again
That would be
out of all
crazy.
those United players?
Flashback, what, like 5 years?
Yeah.
Almost 5 years, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
To whenever that young Chelsea team was kind of shooting up ranks. But my other player there, going to United, I think Seshko is someone interesting. He
We
scored.
said it at the beginning of the season.
We did, and he's starting to click a little bit, starting to find his presence within the team. He's got 2 goals in the last 2 fixtures. Something to note there, where maybe he is someone that we could think about bringing into our team. So, and I don't know what his ownership is right now. It's got to be sub 5%, maybe higher than that because of the
The
United
United
tax.
effect. Yeah.
But I would expect he's definitely below 10%
Mm-hmm.
at this
For
point.
sure.
Yeah.
For sure. I don't know from other players they're gonna be missing though. I mean, I can't really think of anybody else, Luke. But I think another good thing for us to kind of predict going forward for people, just to kind of give a couple of our thoughts maybe before we wrap the pod. Just where we think teams will be at that point in time. Like, do we think Liverpool's going to find more success? Do we think Chelsea? Like, I know we've talked about fixture runs, all that stuff, but like, basically, if you had to predict the top four, or just kind of teams that are going to be in good form going into the festive fixtures, who would you look at?
So the fixture portion of things, like we discussed earlier, I think is important in that. But as far as who's hypothetical table, who do I see 1 through 4?
You don't
Right.
have to
No,
pick a
I
top
think
four. Just
no,
like
no. I
teams you
think
think are in good
that's
form.
a fun thought exercise, right? So 1 through 4, I would probably say Arsenal 1 is how I see it, and then it would probably be I'd probably put Liverpool second, maybe Chelsea, and then maybe City. Actually, City and then Chelsea is probably how I flip that. But in my mind, I think Chelsea have a great run. I think this is a great time in the season for them to just start banking points week in, week out, pushing themselves up the table and establishing more of a established role in the Champions League spots.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Haaland's going to stop scoring goals.
Neither do I.
That's not going to change. So with that in mind, City are going to keep winning, is how I see that. Arsenal still have their best yet to come, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I don't think they're firing on all cylinders because that relationship between Saka and Gyökeres is not really hasn't started yet, in my opinion. He's not creating chances for Gyökeres like I thought he would, but that'll come with time. So I think Arsenal are going to probably really hit their stride here at this part in the season
I hope
because
so.
they've got good fixtures, and I think fitness wise they can get through some of the injuries they've had recently.
God, it's crazy. I just don't know what burial grounds the Emirates is built on because like I feel like it just doesn't stop. But to answer the question, I'm kind of in the same realm of you. I think Liverpool may continue this bad skid for a little bit. There's gonna have to be there's gonna be a point though. I think it could be maybe sometime 4 or 5 weeks from now where Liverpool's gonna start clicking and it's just gonna kick into gear and it's just gonna be automatic.
My thing, I personally believe Slot might have to drop Salah and change their formation.
He's not gonna drop Salah.
I think he'll have to.
He'll drop Verts before he drops Salah.
No. In my mind, to get the best out of Isak, get the best out of Verts, playing with really wide wingers, which is what Salah likes to cut in, right? But with Salah playing that far right wing position and not really contributing that much, maybe send a message to him and say, I need you to be doing more. For us to be successful, you have to do more. And I don't know, kind of changed the shape a little bit. So
Mm,
maybe it's
yeah,
Salah that is the one that gets cut from that. I don't know.
that could be it. I really doubt it. But looking at the table right now, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Newcastle are higher in the table probably like 6 or 7 weeks from now than Liverpool.
That's an extreme jump. What are they at right now on the table?
So Newcastle's currently sitting on 9 points and Liverpool's on 15. So 5 or 6 weeks from now, I'm just saying that if Liverpool don't change things quickly, they could see themselves dropping points in heaps.
No, I agree. I agree with that.
They have a tough
Liverpool,
run of fixtures, and Newcastle have a good stretch of fixtures. They're scoring goals. Their defense is playing well.
we've been saying this on the pod for a while now. Liverpool, when you watch them, something is not clicking, right? And a lot of the goals they were scoring, it was Gravenberch scoring goals. It was a header from a corner. It wasn't the
Patterns of play.
the patterns of play, but you didn't see that influence of, Ekatike was scoring goals, but a lot of them seemed like they were one-off goals where he was taking a chance and creating something out of nothing almost, right? For some of his
Mm-hmm.
goals. And Salah didn't, he just doesn't feel involved. And that's a problem, right? So either you have to get Salah involved and make sure he's engaged and he's on it, right? Or you have to change your system. Either way, but something has to change within
We'll
that.
see. This is easily Slot's biggest test so far as a Liverpool manager. Actually, from an actual like tactical perspective, I mean, I know Van Dijk was talking about this, that like he was saying that this season's going to be the biggest test for them just because like off the pitch stuff with Jota and everything, which is completely understandable. Like that's something that shouldn't even be in a football like conversation, because it's not here or there for that. But yeah, I don't know.
Do
I
you do
also
you see Spurs as being top four?
I think they could be. Let me see if I can
Because
find.
in my mind, when I was quickly making that list, Spurs and Chelsea were almost interchangeable because the way Thomas Frank has them playing, they're a lot more resilient than they have been in the past. They're very adaptable with how they play. And
They
I think he's
are.
getting more out of the players there, kind of raising that ceiling a little bit.
They are, but I think they've been disappointing in a couple matches so far this season. So it's just kind of about them finding the consistency with the new manager, some of the new players, all that stuff. And like it could click into gear for them. It's kind of like the same conversation with Liverpool where like especially I do think that they need to have whenever Solanke can get back injury free, that's going to be a lot better for them because Charleston's just not a consistent enough nine to start for somebody contending for the title.
I agree. Solanke is one of those players that once I see him score a goal, back of my mind, I'm like, I'm gonna get him in my team. He's just one of those
We knew
guys.
that.
He's a lot of fun to watch
You have a
play.
lot of stock on Solanke Island.
I do, I do. And time to bring him back in, increase the ROI. So, not time yet. Don't take that as investment advice in FPL. Whenever he gets to the point of being ready, then I'll think about bringing him back in. So,
Mm-hmm.
but see, that's the thing, Paul. Is I think looking at the top fours that we've hypothetically talked about, I could see two out of the four being teams we just don't predict. Because at this point,
Palace,
we
dude,
have Spurs and Bournemouth are in third and fourth, right? And then Palace is fifth.
City's fifth.
So Palace is sixth.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Palace, XG wise and XGC, so expected goals conceded, they've been by far one of the best teams in the league this year. XG wise, and this is according to Understat, so it might be different on some other sites you look at. On Understat, Palace have the highest XG accrued over the entire season so far, but they're underperforming their XG by about
Bang bang
4 goals,
Mateta.
and that's Mateta's missed some really big chances,
Yeah.
right? They've still managed to get points on the league table, but they could be far and away. Their goal differential could be a lot better than it is.
Yeah, and the interesting thing too, Luke, is that obviously what we talk about week in and week out, there's so many narratives that pop up between the discourse between matches. All of that logistically, It's like, are we just going to be a prisoner of the moment? What is actually going on when you actually look at it at the end of the 38 game weeks? But we have fixtures in game week 8 that are, we have Everton and City playing each other, right? If
Mm-hmm.
Everton win that match, they will be ahead of City in points. They'll go to 14 points. And depending on how the rest of the weeks go, you have Bournemouth and Crystal Palace playing each other, who are fourth and sixth in the table.
Well, yeah.
If, let's just say hypothetically, if Crystal Palace beat Bournemouth, they would go even on points with Liverpool if Liverpool lose to United.
Which we could potentially see happening.
I mean,
right?
there's a lot of situations where it could be, we could have Palace and Bournemouth and Everton right there at the top of the table.
This is kind of where I question my decision making, because at the beginning of the season, I remember everyone was pretty concerned about Bournemouth, saying, "Oh, we're not sure. Are they going to be relegation contention?"
No, I said Brentford. I didn't say Bournemouth.
No. But there were people out there saying they were really worried about Bournemouth. Could they be relegated this season? They sold
No shade on
4 or 5
Iriola.
players, whatever it may be. My thing, Iriel is one of the top managers in the Premier League, and he still has top talent. Semenyo, look at Kluivert's goal at the weekend. The new left back they brought in is really good. Senesi's been a monster, just eating up DEFCON points here and there.
Don't forget about my dude Tyler Adams.
Tyler Adams, he's a great player. Yeah, But then my thing is, I believed in Bournemouth, but I didn't believe in Semenyo. So what am I doing for FPL?
Yeah,
so
you got to connect those dots there.
I do. So yeah, but I'm very intrigued. We'll have to circle back to this 2 months from now and kind of see where our predictions lied, because I could see it being maybe Bournemouth are third in the table, maybe Bournemouth are second. Hopefully it doesn't get to the point where it's just top 6 clubs in the top 6 spots in the table, because that's not as exciting. That's not as much fun. And as we've seen during this Premier League season early on, any team can beat any other opposing team in the Premier League this season.
Yeah.
I firmly believe that, and that's going to make for a very entertaining season, but also makes it harder in FPL, because you don't know who you can kind of target and focus on week to week. So
yeah,
it just makes our jobs a little more perplexing.
I just want to take a moment though to admire what Crystal Palace are doing this season. They've been absolutely phenomenal, what you're talking about, and they're underperforming their XG right now, right?
Yeah.
I said that right.
Yeah.
They're underperforming their XG.
If my memory serves correctly, they had an XG of about 14.5 and somewhere around 10 goals from that. So.
Yeah. And I mean, the thing is too, is they're doing this without Eze, who they lost, after all the fallout of the whole bullshit with Europa League and them being in Conference League, and they're just performing. And we've talked about this in the pod, but Glasner's going to have a lot of people knocking on his door for his next contract, and Palace should hold on to him as long as they can, because he's showing, and it's just so fun to watch. I mean, I was kind of pissed this weekend, not just because of FPL, but when Palace lost to Everton, because I was like, man, they literally would have been, I think, second in the table.
This ties into that age-old adage that you hear announcers say every single time. The commentators are always like, the second goal is what matters. And if they would have got that second goal, because God knows they had more than enough chances to get it, if they get that second goal, that match is dead, right? I don't think Everton make the comeback they do and end up winning, right? So yes, Palace have been really good, but there's room for improvement, which is exciting. And they're sitting, what, 5th in the table? So you said 6th? 5th. So
the thing about it too, though, is I think we are already seeing the impact of them playing in Europe. Glasner has said it, that Mateta is already worn out. So, I mean, I really hope it's a situation where when January rolls around, they kind of invest a little more in the squad, get a little more depth going on, because if they want to go into running Conference League, keep up their Premier League form, they're going to probably need more bodies, or there's going to have to be more of a rotation, which as an FPL manager is something we want to be thinking about. So
yeah. No, I agree. There's a lot of things to be considered as we go forward, but Crystal Palace is one of those teams that I think are going to only become more popular in time for FPL assets, because they're going to keep clean sheets and they're going to score goals, right? And honestly, they're a lot of fun to watch too. So
They are.
that really makes it even more enjoyable when you bring them into your team.
Let me tell you, I was losing at watching Crystal Palace. Like whenever I saw Mateta go around Pickford, and he was not clear on goal, but like he had a really good chance to score, and I knew the ball was from Munoz. I was jumping around, and then the pits of despair. But that's just the trade off of being an FPL manager, you know.
You're telling me
The highs and the lows.
You are telling me we love it. We do it because we love it, but sometimes we don't love it. So
Yeah.
why do we do it?
Oh God. You know, Luke, honestly, I will say you've been really good on this podcast.
Thanks.
I thought this was gonna be a my FPL I don't know, but you've bounced back a little bit since over the last 24 hours.
If we would have done this yesterday, I think this window right here, I probably would have jumped out of it eventually.
Well, yeah, I think it was a conversation where it was like, yeah, we should probably do the podcast tomorrow.
It's better for everyone involved if that happens.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, I
I've had a
agree.
little time to digest, work through it, and I'm ready to go for the next game week. So, but unfortunately, we have to wait because there is an international break coming up. So, if you want to, if you're listening out there still at this point, send your teams over. Tell us exactly kind of where your head's at with your team, and we can provide some feedback. We can let you know what we think, how you could improve your team, and even talk through some chip strategy if you want. Let you know kind of best way we think to kind of handle going forward, because it's one thing to think through what you're going to do for your FPL team, but actually talking to someone else about it goes a long way, right? It helps you flesh out your ideas a little bit more, but also allows you to get some feedback and think about things in a way you might not have otherwise.
Yeah, I completely agree. Just send us a Twitter DM, Blue Sky, Instagram. We should be more active on TikTok sometime soon. So there's also going to be that medium, YouTube, wherever you want. You can reach out to us. If you have our numbers, text us. We're available outside of working hours because we're diligent employees. But
See,
just let us know. We're always happy to talk FPL. This is why we do this, you know.
yes, we are. Yes, we are. So, like Paul said, reach out to us and we'll get back to you. But that is going to bring us to the end of this podcast. So, thank you all for joining us today. It was a lot of fun. Hope you got some valuable insights from this. And if you haven't, go give us a follow on Twitter, Blue Sky, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, whatever makes you the happiest. Follow us on it. So we'll see you guys there. But thanks for joining for this podcast.
Thanks, everybody.